Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, beautiful soul family, and welcome to Weekly Wisdom and Insights, your home for spiritually guided transformation and empowerment. I am your host, Dearjames, and together with the unseen, Spirit, Source, and Symphony, we look at the current energies, the intuitive wisdom and insights, and we go as guided. And we are dealing with some beautiful, powerful energies. We have the Taurus super full moon that is occurring today. We have an upcoming Mercury retrograde. We have Uranus retrograde re-entering Taurus for the final time, well, in our lifetimes. And we then, as the Mars enters Scorpio, it will immediately oppose Uranus. So big energies that we are working with, and that was kind of on display yesterday. We'll get to that in a minute. Welcome, Olivia. Welcome, Alicia. So let's just take a look. We're going to look at the astrological chart for the Taurus super full moon. This full moon is the closest to Earth. It's the largest in this year, in this cycle. And immediately, as I was looking, as you all know, I read the astrology intuitively. And the minute I looked at the inner circle with all of these sextiles and trines and oppositions and squares and everything, and it immediately said to me, the walls are caving in, crashing, closing in, and how that's not a bad thing, period, number one. Clearly depends on which side of or which train you're on. But the walls are caving in, crashing, closing in. And then I heard the phrase, a controlled burn. Well, in forestry and so forth, a controlled burn or a prescribed burn is a planned and intentional application of fire to change the assemblage of vegetation and decaying material in a landscape. We can apply that same understanding and application to the current events. That from the unseen, as above, so below, that this is a planned, controlled, prescribed burn to eradicate obstacles, this assemblage of vegetation, this overgrowth, these things that are overgrowth, things that are out of control, and things that are decaying, that they are no longer in the highest and best of all, because their time has come. It's come and gone. And so we've been talking a lot about this, how we're meant to meet the moment, to rise up and meet the moment. And that's internally as well as collectively, individually, collectively, is to remove the vegetation. It's about pruning the garden, pruning the trees. And when we prune, when we clear away the decay, the overgrowth, the weeds, these things that are in our collective and individual lives, we regrow, we prosper. It brings about a revival. And that's what we're talking about here. So with this Taurus, and you'll see how in our, just bringing up the chart again one more time, the walls are caving in, crashing, closing in. And Olivia's saying yesterday sure showed that exactly. I mean, this information was brought to us by the unseen prior to yesterday's events and so forth. And so you can see this, that we're marching forward. The arc of destiny moves forward. And that brings me to our main theme. Our main theme is a walk with the divine. 4 gates, 1 direction. And you'll see in a moment how this full moon is conjunct the Taurus avatar gate. And there are 4 of them. It's the fixed signs. And so 4 gates, 1 direction. That direction is forward. It's about advance. All of this is about advancing humanity. And when we individually take heed, listen, align with our soul source connection, we advance ourselves, we evolve, we ascend, we transcend, we lay down, we empty the vessel, we lay it all down so that we are renewed, free and clear of the past. Everything is choice. And so this is all about making choices. And in these energies, a walk with the divine. 4 gates, 1 direction. 1 direction, forward. So let's speak to this more deeply. I'm going to go to Pam Youngin's North Point Journal. And she's speaking about major shifts. In this powerful year of 2025, it seems there have been several times where she looked at the planetary aspects that would unfold over the coming week and thought, well, this is an important week. This coming week, the week we are in, the first full week of November, is another one of those periods that feels highly significant, when we are likely to experience some major shifts. It was seismic, major shifts. And, pardon me, the influences we'll be working with over the next 7 days include the ongoing effects, and here's a lineup of planetary as above, so below. So the influences we'll be working with over the next 7 days include the ongoing effects of the revelatory Jupiter Eris square. Square is a frictional aspect in astrology, and Eris is the goddess of discord. Jupiter is the great benefic. So we've got this Jupiter Eris square, Mars's ingress into Sagittarius, an immediate opposition to surprising Uranus. Then we have a full moon in resourceful Taurus. Venus is going to enter Scorpio, and then squaring Pluto. It's going to square Pluto. And then Uranus's return to Taurus, and Mercury stationing retrograde on Sunday, November 9th. There's a lot happening. And these are big aspects. Yes, they happen, yearly and sometimes monthly, but not all of them. And here Uranus returning to Taurus, but Mars immediately squaring it. And Mars and Uranus is like big brother, little brother. And so this actionary aspect. And we have this super full moon. The peak of the current lunar cycle occurs this Wednesday when the moon, that's today, when the moon at 13 degrees, 22 arc minutes of Taurus opposes the sun at the same degree of Scorpio. This full moon will be a supermoon, occurring when the moon is at its closest proximity to Earth and will visually appear larger than other lunations. A full moon usually exaggerates emotions. Since this one is a supermoon, it may have an even stronger pull on our physical and emotional bodies. With Luna in earthly Taurus, we are advised to stay grounded and to connect with nature and beauty in all its forms. This lunation is conjunct the Taurus point of Avatar. According to astrologer Mary Elizabeth Yokemans, this point deals with learning to love self and others in a detached, unselfish, unconditional way. This screams, divine feminine, matriarchal, Aquarian age, we the people. This kind of detached, unselfish, unconditional way. It is the point of service to humanity and being able to go with the flow of the divine. Mrs. Yokemans also writes, this point supports a bringing together into a global mandala the new sounds, symbols, and colors, etc. for the planet. It carries the vision of the ideal for a new earth and a new humanity. So it's conjunct the Taurus point of Avatar. I just want to, before we get to that, I want to speak to the Sabian symbol for that Taurus point of Avatar, that Taurus gate. And this is from Dane Redyer at an astrological mandala. An old teacher fails to interest his pupils in traditional knowledge. The inadequacy of past knowledge in time of crisis. During this Act 1 of the cyclic process, the emergence of new developments is emphasized. In time of crisis, as for example the storm being braved by the man of the last symbol, the type of wisdom learned from this past remains in the background, to be revived later in new forms. So we're speaking about how the old wisdom, we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We need that wisdom. However, it's not meeting the moment. It's not rising to the occasion because there's great change that's occurring. And so it's left in the background to be revived later in new forms. New forms. We're going to take what we know and apply it in new ways. What is emphasized is change. Traditional concepts are not adequate to confirm the new conditions of existence. The old way doesn't work anymore, and we've been speaking about that for quite some time. Thus, whenever this symbol comes to a seeker's attention, it indicates that even the most consecrated tradition does not have the real answer to the problem. At this stage of the cyclic process, a seemingly negative picture is shown. From the Zen point of view, the mind facing trouble should not depend on past concepts, but should repeat, not this, not that, until the pure void is reached. This is talking about how when we speak to not this, not that, until the pure void is reached, it means until we absolutely have the clarity that we understand what the new before us is ushering in. It's ushering in unity, oneness, matriarchal, divine feminine, Aquarian, we the people, the collective, and how in service to that ideal, in service to the soul, to the unseen, the past era, the divine masculine, patriarchal, Piscean, in its purity, it will be in service to, in concert with. It's the creative force, how we take action. That being harnessed in service to a higher, greater good. We might speak here of the principle of creative frustration. That's the Sabian symbol for this Taurus avatar point that we're speaking to, that this full moon, the supermoon, is conjunct. That avatar fixed point is at 15 degrees Taurus. The full moon is at 13 degrees 22 arc minutes. This is from nessofastrology.com, speaking about the 4 gates in the zodiac. 4 gates in the zodiac are called divine avatar gates, and they provide a portal for stellar drama, seismic stellar drama. They are the cross quarter days, marking the half point between solstice and equinox. So you find them at 15 degrees of the fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, or Aquarius. often called the fixed cross in astrology. They were at one time the signs where the equinoxes and solstices resided, and 15 degrees is the middle of the sign. They were at these precise signs a couple thousand years ago and so forth, and because of the precession and so forth, and the axis and the tilt were off these specific degrees. There is something about these divine gates that allows the strongest planetary energy to enter and become highly prominent in life. Some astrologers consider all the gates to be negative because the fixed stars of these points are not so rosy, at least in Western astrology. However, it is important to note that in the sidereal zodiac used in Vedic astrology, these gates have a connection with 4 of the most powerful stars in the heavens, the royal stars, Fomalhaut, Aldebaran, Regulus, and Antares. A lot is written about the connection of these gates to the visions of Ezekiel when he saw 4 creatures, each with 4 faces. He saw beings with parts of an eagle, an angel, an ox, and a lion. In astrology, it is considered that the ox or bull is Taurus. The human head or angel head is Aquarius. The lion's body is Leo. And the eagle is an early symbol of Scorpio. It's important to note that in Ezekiel's vision, he describes a wheel within a wheel, not unlike a zodiac chart. And in the firmament, he saw what he called the likeness of the glory of God. The heart of each fixed sign was clearly sacred, and these points in the wheel of the year become highly important in the study of the movement of the heavens, as well as significant holidays in many cultures. These have been, ingratiated into our cultures, into our longevity, our history. And so this overall is a walk with the divine. 4 gates, 1 direction. This is all about how it's number 1 from the unseen, a profound act of change, advance, deliverance. It's the ushering in of change, advance, deliverance. And deliverance is our key word. And so let me just bring that up here. And I love this. It's a beautiful image of pomegranates and how the pomegranate is referred to as the apple. Instead of an apple, this was this many-seeded apple back to ancient times. And deliverance, the action of being rescued or set free, the state of being saved from a painful or bad experience, released from captivity, slavery, oppression, or any restraint. Biblically, one of the most glorious aspects of the gospel is that it promises us deliverance or rescue from the evil of the age, from the dominion of sin. Welcome, Colleen. And Olivia is asking, what does squaring it mean? A square in astrology is it's opposing it at 90 degrees. I think that's correct. And it's a square, meaning it's a frictional aspect in astrology. Means that 2 planets are in a frictional aspect, a square, and that causes release. So oppositions are where they're directly opposite from one another. And squares are, I believe it's again 90 degrees, and they are squaring one another. They are at this opposition or frictional aspect where energy is backed up, it needs to be released. And thereby, we have this where Mars will immediately oppose Uranus, that's an opposition, and where we have squares, it's frictional aspects that need release. And this is where these, we like harmonious trines, sextiles, we like these harmonious aspects in astrology. However, it is the oppositions, the squares, that create friction or opposition. And some of our greatest lessons, some of our greatest, quantum leaps or leaps forward come because of oppositions and squares. as above, so below. So we're talking about our keyword deliverance and how it's this act of being liberated. And the unseen is saying a profound act of change, advance, deliverance. And number 2, it goes with our main theme, a walk with the divine, 4 gates, 1 direction. And they said, to walk a mile in my shoes. And then I heard, judge not, lest thee be judged. It's Matthew 7:1. And so here's the divine, the unseen, the divine family saying to walk a mile in my shoes. And walk a mile in my shoes is an idiom that means you should try to understand someone's experiences and perspective before judging them. The phrase encourages empathy and reminds people to consider what someone else might be going through, often in the full context of the saying. Before you judge a person, walk a mile in their shoes. And so we have this aspect of empathy and non-judgment and again, Aquarian, matriarchal, divine feminine, we the people, there's a sense of non-judgment. There's a tremendous aspect of non-judgment, of purity, of walking a mile in someone else's shoes. It's about empathy and understanding. The phrase is a call to practice empathy by attempting to see the world from another person's point of view. You know, when we do that and we are not in judgment, then we have greater empathy, understanding, compassion. That's the word I was searching for, compassion. And it's a reminder not to criticize, abuse, or accuse others without knowing their full story. We never know what someone else is going through, and that's not a hall pass for bad behavior. By all means, it's not about allowing, people only treat you the way you allow them to. It's not about taking on someone else's abuse. However, it's about being extremely mindful of not judging others to create, because we're either contributing to the positivity in the world or we're eroding it. And that's a choice. And this is where to walk a mile in my shoes, and then judge not, lest thee be judged. And that beautiful aspect of this beautiful saying. The phrase, judge not lest thee be judged, from the Bible, specifically Matthew 7:1, means that one should not condemn others because they will be judged by the same standard they use. This biblical quote is a warning against hypocritical and self-righteous judgment, encouraging instead self-reflection and a humble approach to criticizing others. The full passage in Matthew 7:1-5 elaborates that one should, quote, first cast out the beam out of thine own eye before trying to remove a mote from a brother's eye or a sister's eye. Well, this is that it's about look inward first. Look at ourselves first. The passage is a warning against being harsh and unfair with our judgments of others, particularly when we have our own faults. The saying is based on a principle of reciprocity. The way you judge others is the way you will be judged in return. It encourages introspection, suggesting that we should examine our own failings before pointing out those of others. This verse is not a blanket prohibition against all forms of judgment. It is possible to make discerning judgments based on the divine's word, but these should not be confused with mean-spirited, self-righteous condemnation. It's about forethought. It's about taking a beat, taking a pause. It's about responding, not reacting. It's about being proactive, not reactive. So there's a lot of a walk with the divine, 4 gates, 1 direction, a profound act of change, advanced deliverance, the ushering in of these things, and to walk a mile in my shoes. Judge not, lest thee be judged. Because we're wanting, it's number 3 from the unseen. It's picture perfect, present, future. Reinventing you. We're reinventing ourselves individually, collectively. We're seeing how the advance of humanity is guiding us to this unity, this oneness, how when we, a tide lifts all boats. It's about the fact that when we lift everyone up, each other up, we all win, we all succeed. The universe is limitless. There is plenty. I mean, the concept of money, countries, the International Monetary Fund, they all, the treasuries, they produce currency, money. So notice that there's always plenty. It's just a choice in what are we actually spending it on, applying it towards. Are we applying it, or, quote unquote, are we going into debt for the goodness and the greatness of our people, of our citizenry, of 8.4 billion souls on the planet, Mother Earth, who supports them all? Because remember, corporations, enterprises, governments, institutions, small business, religious communities, they're all comprised of people. People. That's it. Without people, souls, none of these things, they cease to exist. None of them will exist. So this is a seismic shift, a seismic change from where we've been, and to that Sabian symbol from Dane Rudyard. The old doesn't satiate. It's not adequate, because the new is beckoning us forward to a higher octave, a higher ideal. And in order to rise up and meet and greet that moment, we have to listen and literally, walk the walk, talk the talk, walk the talk. We've got to get in alignment with this higher ideal. And anything that doesn't do that falls short. We saw it yesterday. All that blustery, all that old oppression, suppression, negativity, the shadowy trying to, cheat and manipulate and all these things. And what happened? The people made their voice heard. The people are saying, this is not the world I want to live in. This is not the form of government or institution or business that I wish to be a part of. We're either contributing to the positivity in the world, or we are eroding it. Choose. Now let's jump to Astrology by Lauren. And she is speaking about Taurus, the Taurus super full moon, and the Mars-Uranus transits. She begins with a quote from Joseph Campbell. Passion will move men beyond themselves, beyond their shortcomings, beyond their failures. This is what we were just speaking about. See, passion, when we're ignited, when we're faced with such crisis and such awareness that the old no longer works, isn't working, well, then new ideas. The new is aligned with the present, the picture-perfect present future, and how we're reinventing ourselves. Well, then passion will move men beyond themselves, beyond their shortcomings, beyond their failures. Beautiful quote by Joseph Campbell. Astrology by Lauren. The days leading up to a full moon can feel like a bit much, too much activity, wakefulness at night, an abundance of feelings. Water sign people who have an affinity for the moon, people who are just tuned in, know this about the moon and its phases. The full moon phase is like a culmination for all the feelings, the things that we have been holding close to our chest but now cannot hold back anymore, the things that are coming to fruition or ending. The full moon in Taurus on Wednesday, November 5th, is also a supermoon, meaning that it occurs when the moon is at its closest point to the Earth in its orbit. This is the second of 3 supermoons and the closest full moon of the year. Full moons can be a little magical. Each month, the sun and the moon come into alignment, bringing all our hopes, feelings, dreams, values, and emotions to the surface of our lives. This allows us to connect with what had been there all along, just waiting to be realized, understood, and even seen. It's number 6 from the unseen. And they said, It's within you. It's always been within you. And so here this movement, this allows us to connect with what had been there all along, just waiting to be realized, understood, and seen. We're talking about the soul source connection, your soul consciousness, this higher octave, the higher self. And the unseen six, spirit and service, it's within you. It's always been within you. It's always been there. It is the greatest relationship we have in life. It is the one we enter life with. It is the one we exit life with. This soul source connection relationship. Astrology by Lauren. She goes on, full moons are illuminating, and knowing who you are and honoring your true priorities can help you to realize your potential. This is about authenticity, being authentic and being in alignment with that. When we're outside of our authenticity, it's not pretty. It's chaos, mayhem, it's decline, because we're not truly operating from our truest nature. They can also help us to navigate, full moons can also help us to navigate any potentially chaotic weather that may be brewing. This path will be different for each of us, but by honoring what is most important to you and making it a priority, you come to understand your own truth with a passionate yearning to hold on to that. The moon will be full, it will be large, and just before it culminates on Wednesday, Mars enters Sagittarius while it opposes Uranus, which is poised to return to Taurus on November 7th, 8th, depending on where you are. Taurus is a sign of serenity and peace, but Mars-Uranus transits can be destabilizing, perhaps shockingly so. We're witnessing it, we're seeing it, and there's more to come. Explosive, chaotic, surprising, impulsive. Sometimes we need to change and evolve our lives to accommodate whatever inner changes have been brewing. And let's not forget, shock waves. We just saw them. Those shock waves will both inspire and create or cause fear. The more decay, stagnation, fear, shadow, the louder the light, the greater the light. It lifts. It's Newton's theory of relativity. I believe that's correct. Or laws of motion. You know, for every action, there's an equal or greater reaction or opposite action. So we're looking at this and the things that have been brewing. And sometimes we need to take a few risks to do so. But what we don't want to do is to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Hold on to the things that are important, even as we navigate whatever unexpected changes, twists, and turns that the Mars-Uranus transits may cast upon us. Hold on to what matters. So this is about staying the course. And we're going to be working with, let me just bring this up really quickly. We're going to be working with hexagram 5 and hexagram 25, nourished while waiting, patience, and innocence open, because these are the numerological aspects we are dealing with and energies that we're dealing with in these current energies. So it's to remember, because it's about deliverance. This is delivering humanity to the next octave of our being. This is what all of this is about. And the whole Weekly Wisdom and Insights journey has been about the preparation for that deliverance. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming early, between now and end of April, early 2026, this deliverance. And number 4 from the unseen, and 4 is foundational. It's like four legs on a chair. It's foundational. The unseen said, make no mistake about it, with 7 exclamation points. 7 is the divine fulfillment, the foundation of God's word, the divine fulfillment of it, the completion of it. And so they said deliverance. Make no mistake about it. And make no mistake about it is do not be deceived into thinking otherwise. And it's used to stress the truth or accuracy of a statement or something. So we have this deliverance, make no mistake about it, 7 exclamation points. Do not be deceived into thinking otherwise. And it's used to stress the truth or accuracy of a statement or something. So accuracy, truth, not to be deceived, not to buy into the illusion. There's a lot of shadow energy trying to manipulate the outcome. Thankfully, there's a higher force, the divine, the unseen, that is in charge. The host, we're the guest. The master weaver, we're the co-creator. And so it's to have faith and truth and trust, to be authentic, so that we are in alignment with the picture-perfect present future, where we're moving to, the reinvention of ourselves, and the world, the new octave, the new us that lies before us. It is literally the one before us and the one that came before us. And so this return, we're going back to where we began, an octave higher. So now let's move into Juliana McCarthy is an astrologer with etherealculture.com. And she's speaking about the astrology of November 2025, healing through upheaval. November begins in the midst of great confusion and electric change. Mercury opposed Uranus on October 29th, triggering revelations and disruptions that jolted our nervous systems and spun our minds into overdrive. The intensity continues as Mars opposes Uranus on November 4th. This was yesterday, igniting courage, hairpin turns, and chaos. Neptune hovers at the final degrees of Pisces. That's the end of the astrological year. It's right there. And Saturn is a few degrees further back, but they're both at the final degrees of Pisces. And Uranus is going back into Taurus. Jupiter is going to regress back into, I believe, Gemini. So the last 4 big ones are regressing just until, and then by April of 2026. But between now and then, they've all moved forward into their official new signs. It's a big deal that all 5, because Pluto already has, that all 5 are lining up within this kind of 16-month window to shift signs, because they are the outer planets represent the greater story, the arc of destiny, the arc of humanity, where we're going. And then the inner planets, the sun, the moon, Mercury, Mars, Venus, more represent our individual lives. And so this is a big deal that they're shifting. All of this kind of igniting and chaos and courage and hairpin turns, all of this. And that Neptune hovers at the final degrees of Pisces, further destabilizing us by blurring boundaries and obscuring truth. This is always a hard word for me. Sterility reigns as old structures dissolve and uncertainty deepens. The key is to release our need for control and trust with a capital T, especially since we can't see what's next. We can't see every single exact moment and move. However, we can feel it. That's why the shadow, the patriarchal, divine masculine, Piscean era institutions, ways of thinking and doing and so forth are fearful. Those that have led that are fearful because they know, they can feel it. It's changing. The tides are turning. And there's something beautiful and great before us. We just have to have the wisdom and the trust and the faith and the courage to align with it, to not be afraid of the unseen, of what's before us. What an adventure. Magic carpet ride. Does it mean we have to change? Does it mean that we're going to need to adjust and so forth? Yes. But that's life. So might we do it with a smile on our face and with joy in our hearts and with, clarity and peace of mind, because it's deliverance from the unseen. It's deliverance. It's an advance. It's a change that is unparalleled. Continuing with ethereal culture, Juliana McCarthy. The urge to break free is immense this month, Yet amid Uranus's lightning bolts, November invites us to slow down and integrate the upheaval that's been rampant since late July. 3 consecutive grand water trines, and we spoke about these grand water trines in a couple of previous episodes, anchored by a rare Jupiter-Saturn trine. Trine's a harmonious aspect in astrology, offer profound healing and emotional support throughout the latter half of the month. This is like getting a rose bath or, like a milk bath, or these energies, the grand water trines, the Jupiter-Saturn trine, these beautiful harmonious trines that are going on. It's from the unseen, as above, so below. They're nourishing us, they're bathing us, they're embodying us with water, emotion, things that soothe, because this is a big time of transition. And we should take note and take heed of that and value and appreciate that we're being nourished and supported, loved by the divine, by the unseen, being shown the way forward. The only obstacle is whether or not we're listening and choosing to accept that and to embrace it. Embrace the change, embrace the renewal, the reinvention. So we have this emotional support throughout the latter half of the month. This is a welcome relief. At the same time, Mercury retrograde turns us inward for reflection, review, and recalibration. November is a beautiful month for rest and retreat and to forgive ourselves for any trouble we found ourselves in. The grand water trines are ready to wash away our jagged edges and allow us grace. Liberation. This is literally deliverance, liberation. Liberation and breakthrough surge throughout this month. The planets are encouraging us to let go of whatever keeps us confined, suppressed desires, inauthentic expression, outdated relationships, and limiting beliefs. It's about letting them go, purging them, while deepening our capacity for truth. We're invited to embrace sudden shifts while also taking the time to process, feel, and integrate. By month's end, we'll have slingshotted into more aligned chapters, leaving old constraints and obstacles behind. Neptune's dreaminess reminds us that we don't need perfect clarity to move forward. We only need to surrender and allow for our divine unfolding. So Juliana McCarthy, etherealculture.com, is speaking. I loved this. By month's end, we'll have slingshotted into the more aligned chapters, leaving the old constraints and obstacles behind. The astrological influences in the last episode was slingshot, bullseye, bullet point, point of entry, that the sun was pulling back the slingshot and they were going to hit. It was aimed right at that final degree of Pisces and the very beginning degree of Aries, that change, and that they hit the bullseye. That this is intentional, it's a controlled burn. This is about the old, the walls are collapsing, caving in, and all of this is and it's intentional, it's divine, it's intended for us. It's not happening to us, it's happening for us. And here, by month's end, we'll have slingshotted into more aligned chapters, leaving old constraints and obstacles behind. Juliana McCarthy continues, as the air cools and the trees grow bare, may we drop into truth and release our need for control. May we soften into change and trust what's arising in our lives, knowing deep down that everything that's unfolding will lead us to our perfect awakening, even if the future is unclear. That was our mantra last week, was I awaken in the new. This perfect awakening. All of this is leading us to this perfect awakening in the new. Number 5, which denotes change from the unseen. Peace be with you, and also with you. A wish for a greater you, a greater world. It's a greeting, which we have discussed in previous episodes. It's a greeting, but it's also The statement by Master Jesus to the apostles after the crucifixion and resurrection. They were fearing for their safety. They were in a room with a locked door, and Master Jesus appeared. And he said to them, "Peace be with you." So it's both a greeting, but it's also it's an awareness, it's an understanding that the divine, the unseen, the divine is always present, is always with us. A walk with the divine, to walk a mile in my shoes, and to remain out of judgment, or apply judgment with discernment, not with shadowy energies and aspects that harm. And how, when we understand all of this, it's within you. It's always been within you. That's what's present. Now let's move to Channing Nicholas, astrologer Channing Nicholas. And she is speaking about your guide to Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius and Scorpio, because Mercury is going to go retrograde on Sunday, November 9th. It will go station direct on the 29th, so for 20 days. It's a shorter Mercury retrograde than normal. However, it's intense, and it's going to be retrograding it's in Sagittarius first. It will re-enter Scorpio, and then it'll go forward. Channing Nicholas, prepare to get a little lost as Mercury stations retrograde in Sagittarius. Mercury appears to spin in reverse 3 or 4 times a year. The messenger planet doesn't actually backpedal in the sky, but this optical illusion tends to wreak real havoc here on Earth. So get ready to double check your texts and back up your hard drives. Mercury stations retrograde on November 9th, and this time around, it starts stirring things up in Sagittarius. And it's to remember, when Mercury is retrograde, unless it is something that is a continuation of something that's already been worked on, or that type of thing, you're not to buy unless you absolutely have to. Don't enter into contracts. Don't purchase electronics, vehicles, things that have electronic moving parts, because it's literally, you think you're getting one thing and you end up getting something else, or you think that these are the terms or conditions only to find out that they're not, or that they have to be reworked or revised, or there's so many things, snafus, that happen when Mercury goes retrograde. Channing Nicholas. Mercury is in detriment in Sagittarius. It means it's not in its happiness, its happy place, meaning it doesn't have the easiest time in this sign. The planet of thinking and communication loves gathering information and digging into the details, while the mutable fire sign, Sagittarius, would much rather ditch the microscope and take in the big picture. In other words, during this transit, our conversations might be grander and more inspiring, but our messages might get lost in translation. Lost in translation was number 5 about change. Number 5 in last week's episode. Clarity returns, revives itself. So this lost in translation, clarity returns and revives itself. We're seeing clarity returning. There's a clarity about the future. We're seeing it. We saw it last night, in the outcome and the results of things. That there's an understanding of what the future is, and what the past is, and how to get there. So, in the big picture, in other words, in the big picture, during this transit, this Mercury retrograde, our conversations might be grander and more inspiring, but our messages might get lost in translation. This isn't a bad thing. It just means we may want to take everything with an extra grain of salt, and we'll have to be patient when the clearest answer or solution doesn't immediately reveal itself. So this is about slow down, gear down. That's the beauty of Mercury retrogrades, is to just slow down. It doesn't mean do nothing. It just means slow down so that you can revisit, re-examine, re-look at, rethink before taking action. This is also a great time to check your internal compass. Do you feel like you're on the right path? Is there anything you need to adjust? Where have you felt the need to reroute? If you're not sure of where to turn next, this is part of Mercury retrograde's medicine. Admitting you're lost or confused is the first step toward getting back on track. And it's that beautiful statement, you're never lost, you're always somewhere. And so when you just say, where am I? Just close your eyes, sit, take a breath, clear your space for 5 minutes, and just say, where am I? You're going to hear exactly where you are. And then you'll know to ask, what steps should I take? Or what's next? And you'll receive an answer, a knowing. And thus, that's what you do or don't do, as the case may be. Mercury retrograde in Scorpio dials up the intensity. This is Chani Nicholas, astrologer. Once Mercury backtracks into Scorpio on November 18th, the second part of this retrograde period may feel like a major vibe shift. The Scorpion of the zodiac isn't interested in making surface level small talk or playing nice just to keep the peace. It would much rather cut to the core of the matter. In this piercing water sign, the planet of communication boosts our courage to, quote, go there. And until it stations direct on November 29th, we may be returning to some unfinished conversations, unanswered questions, and unsolved mysteries. This is all about going back. And remember, all 4 of the remaining outer planets are retrograding: Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, Jupiter, to finish up, tie up loose ends, finish up business. Well, here's Mercury doing its part to, go back and look at unfinished conversations, unanswered questions, and unsolved mysteries. There's a lot of re-examining, dismantling, deconstruction, bringing to the light what's been going on in order to empty the vessel and purge, purify, so as to completely move forward. Individually, collectively. It's going to happen. And again, the more we're in alignment with everything, the greater the arc of our advancement, our evolution, our transcendence. Now we're going to look at hexagram 25. And hexagram 25 is about innocence. Innocence implies a natural harmlessness and openness and pure intentions, unsullied by ulterior motives. The condition of innocence has less to do with age than with attitude. And this brings us to our first quote. Innocence springs from a heart that remains open to joy and wonder. It's about an open heart. It's about being safe within your soul self, your heart. There's so much when we, again, a walk with the divine. You want to enter the kingdom of heaven. You want the eternal life. Biblically, it says, be childlike. To be childlike means to have innocence, not naivety, innocence, non-judgment, innocence. And this is from divination.com. So, innocence, when guided by a firm faith in what is just and balanced, brings supreme success. Naivety, on the other hand, proceeds blindly, unanchored by the ability to discern right from wrong, and can bring about great misfortune. The hallmark of innocence is a willingness to treat all creatures with compassion and respect. Those who possess a pure heart are best guided by their instincts and intuition. It's your soul source connection. It's your true north, GPS, God positioning satellite. We listen to that. It's these instincts and you possess a pure heart. We're best guided when we listen to our instincts and intuition. Thinking is divine masculine, patriarchal. We need a healthy ego, mind, personality human. Absolutely, 1,000%. However, in service to and in alignment with intuition, knowing, instinct. So thinking too much severs links with the guidance of the heart. Be wary of courses of action or causes of action that require too much cleverness. See, when it's clever, air quotes clever, you're in shadow territory. Your intentions are sullied, because if it requires cleverness, I need to conceal or mislead or whatever, or lie or cheat or steal or whatever, it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to end well. And it's to remember where those things were able to be concealed, in the past 2,000 years. It took, the internet, look what happened. Things used to take decades, centuries to come about or be revealed. Smartphones, the internet, 24/7 news cycles, individual sleuths, people that are out investigating. These things are happening in real time. And we've been leading up to that because, again, in the new, that dog doesn't hunt. Those energies will not work or prevail. It will become so uncomfortable to be clever like this that you won't do it. It'll just instantaneously be painful. And, the response will be immediate. So we're seeing this. It's getting faster. Things are getting faster and faster. So now we move to hexagram 5. Hexagram 5 from divination.com is about patience. And this is again in alignment with the Mercury retrograde that's coming up and the wisdom of it. The wisdom of patience. A fisherman can cast the line, but still can only wait for the fish to bite. Your catch will come in its own good time. You cannot make it come sooner, neither by working, nor by planning, nor by wishing. It's about divine time. All things in divine time. Though you may have a need to provide nourishment, it is only through patience that you can become the bridge between the fickle fish and the eventual feast. This comes to our second quote. Strength in a time of trials. Oops, I think I have them in the wrong order, pardon me. Strength in the time of trial waits quietly, resolutely. This is an image of Master Jesus sitting in prayer. Strength in a time of trial waits quietly and resolutely. There was a great awareness that Master Jesus understood his fate, his destiny, his role in what was to take place. And faced with that, courage, strength, trial, quietly, resolutely rising up to meet and greet the profound act of change, advance, and deliverance. A walk with the divine, 4 gates, 1 direction. So there's a beauty in the fact that this patience, strength in a time of trial, waits quietly and resolutely. Weakness grows agitated, abandoning the effort before the fish start biting. Periods of waiting are most fruitful when used for quiet contemplation. This is patience. Proceed cautiously but resolutely with whatever you are doing. The situation calls for consistency and perseverance. We're charging ahead. We're marching ahead. Look at yesterday. That didn't happen overnight. It's been happening. We walk on the shoulders of giants, of everyone who's come before us. Think of that individually in our lives, of our own lineage and families, collectively in our systems of government, and everyone that's honed and polished their stone. For us to inherit this deliverance, this moment, this time of great glory. It's on the shoulders, it's on the backs, it's on the shoulders of everyone who's come before us. This is our third quote. Waiting is an essential skill. Patience, a powerful force. This beautiful image of the snail and crossing waters, this beautiful like reflective sheet of glass, of sheet of water. And it's the waiting is an essential skill. Patience, a powerful force. Time is an ally for those with inner strength. The strength that allows you to be uncompromisingly honest with yourself while sticking to the path you have charted. This is about looking at ourselves. This is about being honest and truthful with ourselves. So that is what we reflect and offer others. It's sticking to the path that you have charted. When you persevere with a positive attitude, time weakens even the hardest obstacles. To rush anything or force results stimulates resistance and causes setbacks. At best, you achieve surface changes that may be reversed just as quickly. Steadfast waiting, holding to your integrity, leads to slow but permanent improvements. In the end, you accomplish something great. Be content to practice patience. Be patient with yourselves. Be patient with others. Be patient with this time. It's not easy. We are bearing witness to some of the most tremendous goo and shadow and cleaving and clinging to the past that we have ever witnessed in our lifetimes. It doesn't mean that this hasn't occurred before. I'm sure it has. And maybe we were perhaps present in those lifetimes. However, we are present in this lifetime. And it's number 3. It's that picture-perfect present future, reinventing you. The divine is reinventing us, is reinventing the whole of the whole. Mother Earth, our experience with her. It's all being reinvented. We're being delivered. Peace be with you and also with you. A wish for a greater you, a greater world. It's within you. It's always been within you. And so how this moment in time, these profound acts of change, advance, and deliverance will deliver us into the new. And we're watching it play out on the world stage. We're watching the old collapse, the fears get louder and greater, and the light triumphing. It's like it's bringing it all up and out. It's messy. It's not fun. It's incredibly painful to bear witness. And for 8.4 billion souls, to every soul on the planet, playing their role, thank you. When we get to the stage of being able to say thank you, it means we pierce the veil of illusion. We see the greater story, the greater arc of destiny. We have great empathy and compassion and gratitude for the role that each soul is playing. Our judgment is through discernment, not through condemnation and shadow. And ultimately, we rise. We all rise. Where we end up, because there are 2 trains, there are 2 worlds, there are 2 eternal existences that are spoken about in the Bible. So where we end up is up to each one of us. However, the ultimate outcome is known. The light triumphs over darkness. That's where we are. Next week is our final episode of Weekly Wisdom and Insights Season 4. And so I'm looking forward to see what the unseen has for us. And until then, again, walk with grace, with patience, Mercury retrograde, all these powerful energies that these beautiful astrologers are speaking to. And I'm just eternally grateful for the opportunity and the journey with each and every one of you that show up each week, your energy, your presence, and for all those that catch the replays and follow, like, share, subscribe, purchase an intuitive consultation. For all of that, I'm eternally grateful. Until next week, be well.